Good morning, everyone, and today I will be talking about encapsulation. Now, what is encapsulation? Encapsulation is data, functions, and methods that are packaged together in the class, normally with the same scope of the accessibility in the memory. Now, why should we use encapsulation? We should use encapsulation because objects no longer need to be dependent upon any outside functions and data after creation. It provides abstract data types which will be discussed in another video, and it is generally easier to code. Now, how does it work? It works by bundling data and method into one unit. It groups logically related data and operations into blocks called classes, and it can be implemented through setter and getter methods, which will be discussed later. Before we go any further, we have to talk about data hiding. Now, what is data hiding? Data hiding is the process of hiding data from an entity from other entities. Its purpose is to prevent corruption of data that can be brought upon by other entities. And while data hiding isn't a part of encapsulation, it is an important concept to know. A part of encapsulation is there's a part of encapsulation called a private method. Now, what is the private method? The private keyword the private keyword or the private method is an access modifier used for attributes, methods, and constructors, making them only accessible within the declared class. And lastly, the setter and getter methods. In Java, setter and getter methods are two conventional methods that are used for retrieving and updating the value of a variable. The following codes is an example of a simple class with a private variable and a couple of setter and getter methods. As we can see here, we have a public class with a simple setter and getter, and the implementation of a private method, as you can see here, private int number. Since it is a private method, class code outside this class cannot access this variable unless through the setter and the getter. Now, what the setter does is it sets the value of a number, and then the getter simply retrieves the set value. This is another example. Public class simple setter and getter, which is another private int number. Here we set a public getter for our variable, which is private int number. And we set a variable and a parameter for our private int number. And since it is a private method, code outside this class, as mentioned earlier, cannot call on it. So we have to use the setter and a getter to set the value and get the value. For our last example, we will go through a step-by-step process of how encapsulation works. First, we create a package called number test and make a class number. Now, you might be wondering what a package is. A package is a group of similar classes in Java. So we declare package encapsulation test, and we declare public class number. Second step is to declare a field or a variable as private. So we declare as you can see here, we declare private int y, and we go into the third step, which is creating a public getter for the private variable. As you can see here, we made public int get for private int y. The fourth step is creating a public setter variable. Creating a public setter method for a private variable and declaring the parameter. As you can see here, we declare public void set int y as our setter, and this point y equals y as our parameter. The fifth step, I'm sorry, it says fourth step, but it means fifth step. The fifth step is to create another class called Encaptest, that's basically it. And the sixth step is to create an object of class number using a new keyword. And we set that keyword as n. And now is the seventh step is to call on the setter method and set the value of the variable. Now we set the value of the variable as 6, and we call on, and the second to the final step is calling on the getter method to read the value of the variable, which is 6, and the step 9 is printing out the variable, printing out the output, which is 6. I forgot to mention one more method, which is protected method. This method or attribute with the access modifier protected can be accessed within your classes by all classes within the same package and all subclasses within the same or other packages. The protected modifier usually gets used for internal methods that need to be called or overridden by subclasses. You can use it to allow subclasses to access internal attributes of a superclass directly. A real encapsulation, which means to bind things. Honestly, no, that's wrong. A real life application of encapsulation would be a pencil box in which you use daily. The pencil box contains other things like an eraser, a sharpener, well, a pencil. The same principle also applies to programming. The OOP gives us the advantage of gathering the data and functions in the same box with it, which is called class. So yeah, that's basically it. Encapsulation is one of the 4 key concepts in object-oriented programming. It helps with the bundling the data and methods that work within one unit. It's usually used to hide the internal representation of state or object from the outside. The next video will tackle about the polyformism and its uses and functions. So that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.